yeah, come on, Aussie. Yeah, that's right. Maybe a natural reaction, you know. That's from back in my cricket days, probably. But I'm sure, I don't know if Steve appreciated me yelling that straight to Aussie. Whatever. Maybe the one time he doesn't mind.
I'm sure Steve Williams had no problems with Adam Scott yelling at him at Augusta National as Adam won the Masters for the first time, breaking through for the Aussies. I'm pleased to say that Steve Williams joins us right now. He has a new book out, Steve, called Together We Roared, detailing your career with Tiger Woods. For more than a decade, you were on the bag. It seems like, reading through the book, Steve, that you're a prodigious note-taker for almost 50 years, and it's almost like you were writing a book in prospect.
Yeah, look, I found that very beneficial right from the start of my caddying career. I actually learnt that from a rugby coach here who told me that keeping details of players' moods, the way they move, the way they fidget, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they handle themselves, if you keep a compiled lot of notes and you'll be able to form a really good strategy based on the way they are acting from day to day. So I could, starting my days caddying with Greg Norman, I just took an enormous amount of notes and to be fair, just about every time I went to the golf course and looked at the player and what I was seeing that day, I was generally able to formulate a plan whether he was going to play confidently or maybe not so confidently, aggressively, defensively, what it might be. So, when I went to write the book and got all those notes out and all my old yardage books with other additional notes in them and so forth, it became very helpful. So it was like a trip down memory lane when Evan and I started writing the book. So keeping all those notes was really beneficial.
Yeah, terrific job by yourself and Evan Priest to bring all that together. And one of the details in the book, I think, that really exposes the human side of Tiger Woods is the notes that you pass between each other after a round or after a tournament. You have all those details. They really reveal what Tiger was like away from the camera.
Yeah, look, I think that was something that was, very unique to our relationship. I didn't carry a phone for a long time when I was caddying for Tiger. Didn't have a cell phone, and at the end of a round or end of a week with that, I'd generally take his clubs back to his hotel room and so forth, or even possibly leave the note in his car, and I'd just leave him a little note. It could be, a congratulatory note on today's play and what was ahead for tomorrow, or it might be, hey, today's round, we lack this, or we need to improve on this for tomorrow. This is what you need to think about overnight, or so forth. All sorts of little notes, and this became a regular exchange of things. And it was just unique to something that we did. And some of those notes, which I kept all the notes, remain very special to me this day. And it was just a good thing. Like if you text somebody a message and they read the message, there's likely a good chance they either A, delete it, or B, don't read it again. But when you leave a note for somebody, then tell them that, hey, tomorrow, your chipping was, from this sort of distance out was quite average today. They'll think about that more than once and possibly read that note more than once, because the note could be left on the bed, it could be left on the dresser, and you'll see it often more than once, and it'll make you realise that, hey, this is what I got to do, this is what I got to focus on. You put some more thought into it as opposed to leaving a text message or a phone message, something like that.
Steve, you started with Tiger in 1999 and that win against Bob May at the PGA Championships. But from there was some amazing dominance in the world of golf with Tiger and yourself. Every time you went out with him, did you think you were just going to win?
Well, I mean, Tiger, his only satisfaction, a good week for him was only winning a tournament. So when he, placed second or didn't place at all, that wasn't a successful week. The only way he gauged a good week was winning a tournament. There's some guys that are happy to finish in the top 3, top 10, top 20, just make the cut, whatever it might be. His only satisfaction, every goal, every week, was to win tournaments. So that was the goal. Obviously, you realise that you can't win every tournament, but that was ultimately his goal. He believed if he was teeing it up in the tournament, he was there to win and only to win. So those periods where he did have, a longer, a somewhat a period of time, longer period of time when he didn't win, the pressure absolutely built up, because that's what he was there for. That's what he wanted to do, and he expected to win. He prepared thoroughly, prepared hard. He believed he was the best player, and to be fair, he probably was the best player. And he is the best player in his day, and he expected to win when he teed it up.
There's a lot of bull going on here in Texas, let me tell you, Steve. Let me ask you a question. Tiger Woods, obviously a great driver of the ball, but sometimes he was a little skew with. Would you say he had a better than most talent of getting out of dodgy predicaments?
That's a very good question, Radar. I think one of the most underrated parts of Tiger's game that's never really been brought to the front is his extraordinary ability out of rough to hit the ball pin high. His control out of the rough and his ability to hit shots out of the rough where no one would hit it, would take on a gamble out of the rough is unique. And also, yeah, his scrambling is unbelievable. But as you're probably well aware, Radar, to be that good, there's some fortune involved, but he actually practiced a lot of shots on the range that would duplicate some of the shots that you require to get out of trouble and that. So, there's a good amount of fortune involved. But yeah, some of the shots that he's hit over his career, obviously the one at Pebble Beach comes to mind. There's no player that would have taken that ball up and over that cliff out of the lie that he had. I believe you were walking with us that day. Those are the sorts of shots that made him an extraordinary player. But yeah, his ability to scrambling in difficult situations, and like I said, his ability out of the rough was certainly way underrated and was never given as much consideration as it probably would have. He's an extraordinary player of getting the ball out of rough.
Steve, the focus of the golf world this week is Augusta National and the Masters. I'm guessing that Tiger relished the challenge back in 2001, 2002 when the club made changes to the course and tried to Tiger-proof it. I guess that sort of maybe spurred him on even.
Yeah, look, I mean, they obviously, the committee at Augusta probably have a fair indication of how they're able to set up the golf course and what sort of score they're indicating. But if you fast forward now, they've got the ability with the underground heating they have on the greens to be able to dictate how soft or how firm the greens are, so they can actually keep a bit of a control on the score. But back then, they didn't have that heating system available in the greens. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was probably, to be fair, it played into his hands. Or, you talk about tiger-proofing. What was tiger-proofing? It was make the course longer. And whilst they did make it longer, they actually took out, they made the fairways a bit wider and took some of the intermediate rough out, which made it probably be, more suitable. So I don't think lengthening the course, although they described it as tiger-proofing, I don't think it actually did tiger-proof it because, he was obviously in his peak, was, as long as anybody that was certainly amongst the top players. He was very, very long, and, and the longer the course, I think the more difficult it became for players that were shorter hitters. So now if you go to Augusta now and, you're not able to hit the ball 270 metres, 300 yards, it's going to be a very difficult course to play because you're going to be faced with some of these par fours that are stretched out to over 500 yards. That, you're going to be hitting a hybrid sort of club into the greens as opposed to a long hitter that's got a 7, 6, 7, 8 iron into the green. You can't compete with that over 72 holes. So it's definitely a course now with its lengthening and so forth. It definitely favours the longer hitters for sure.
Steve, you don't have to be long with this one. It's 20 years. You got to the 16th, the par 3, and you're down there in that little dell down on the left-hand side. Now, I can speak. It's a shot that inspired golfers all around the world. We all had shivers running on the back of our necks. Even the logo of the ball going in was like it was meant to be. Look, I could go on forever about it. Just shut me up and take it away. That was warped. What were you discussing?
Look, I mean, right from the tee shot, when he hit the tee shot, I thought, geez, man, that's left. Obviously you got to hit that shot right of the pin, 40 feet, and it'll come feed down to that pin. I'm thinking, geez, that's left. That's in the bunker. Next thing I'm thinking, no, it's not in the bunker. The next thing I said, no, it's not in the water. Where is that ball? I actually didn't know where that ball was. I'd not, as much as I'd caddied, I'd never seen anybody hit it over there. I was fortunate enough to get Finch's attention, Ian Baker Finch's attention in the tower. He was on the tower behind the 15th green, and Tiger was yelling at me. I was ahead of him, walking. Stevie, is that all right? Is that all right? I don't know if it's all good, but then Finchy gave me the thumbs up, so I was able to tell Tiger it's okay. We get up there. He looks at the shot. He picks out a ball mark on the green. He says, Stevie, do you think if I landed on that ball mark, it won't have too much speed where it gets too far up the hill, where it gathers too much speed and comes back down and it's going to go racing past the hole? And, I sort of looked at it and thought, it's a very good area to land it. And he landed it exactly on that ball mark, Radar. I mean, it's the size of a nickel, and he lands it on that ball mark. The rest is history. I mean, he could stand there for the rest of his life and he'd never be able to hit that shot again. It was, and just like you said, the way the ball fell in with the Nike logo, it was like a scripted ad. It was absolutely an amazing moment.